free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take it from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests, and today we go to Debbie. She's the author of the cookbook, The Effortless Kitchen. And we don't want to ask her the question, what is your favorite food? But we want to ask many other cool questions. But what I learned from her, guess what? She was a CPA. And she has a cookbook, she's a chef, she's teaching classes, and she can take you on travels. But Debbie, give us a little background on where you are today and what have you done?
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, CPA to food. It was a big jump, but there was a lot of years in between. I've always wanted to do something with food. So this business started at the Effortless Kitchen in 2019 as a personal chef business. And I basically figured out all I really wanted to do was cook. I entered into that. I got clients right away. It was great. I was cooking in their houses, making their weekly meals. Then the pandemic happened. So I had to stop doing that. I was just kind of waiting for it to end, thinking it was going to be temporary. Meanwhile, people were on social media wondering what other people were cooking for dinner because they were bored. What are you making? I just started sharing videos of what I was making for my family's dinners. People got excited, show me more. And then it turned into a class, which I started charging for. And that is the birth of the evolution of my business from personal chef to virtual cooking classes. And that started really May of 2020. And it has grown since then to corporate events and private events. Then I wrote a cookbook because people were like, I have so many of your recipes in a binder. I basically have a cookbook. And I'm like, ooh, so do I. Let me write a cookbook. My first cookbook came out in October of 2022. And my next one will come out this fall of 2025. I'm going to do a second one. And for the recipes in my book and for what I teach and kind of my whole philosophy around food is, or at least cooking, is quick, easy weeknight meals and on the healthier side. I do a variety of all sorts of food. We do use meat, but I have vegetarian dishes, noodles, pasta, meatballs, not any one genre either. People hear my background. I'm half Italian and I learned to cook from my Italian grandmother, but specialize in anything authentically Italian because it's Italian American. And second of all, I like to try different things. So there's a wide variety of genres of food in my cookbook. I say my philosophy on cooking because my philosophy on dining is a little bit different. I like to really explore a lot of different foods, and it doesn't have to be quick and easy. And I like to have the longer meals, and I also love to travel. Once we kind of got back to being out in the world and the pandemic kind of subsided, I started doing food tours for small groups of people in Italy. And I've expanded beyond Italy. Now we're doing Croatia in the fall, and I'm looking into doing Japan for 2026 and Portugal. There's other things that are coming up from that, but it's all about exploring the food that is local to the region. We do a couple of cooking classes there and do food tours and food related excursions, but also do some historical touring because you can't go somewhere and not really learn about where you are. So it kind of like it ties into the walking tour and that sort of thing. We don't do a ton of museums, but we have free time. If my guests want to go do that, they can go do that on their own.
Sounds fantastic. I'm sure all the listeners will say, where can I sign up? Because everybody loves to travel. Everybody loves the Italian food. And yeah, it's just after the pandemic, we're so eager to go someplace, what comes to my mind is that we want to take care of ourselves better and enjoy and maybe some luxury. That's what the people want when they go on a trip, and not the typical Venice, Florence, Rome, where you basically have the tourist food. I grew up in Switzerland, so Italy is like 2 hours away. You can eat in the smaller towns actually much better than when you go to Florence, Rome, or Venice, because they cater just to the tourists. So a smaller town in Italy is much better and more authentic.
Yes, yes. And it pains me when someone said they had a bad meal in Italy, or they were in Rome and they hated Rome because it's dirty and it had bad food. Oh my gosh, you missed out. You missed out on one of the greatest cities that I absolutely love, Rome. But I can see how it's easy to have a bad meal because there's so many tourist traps, is what we'll call it. So, but it makes me sad when people feel that way. But yes, food and nourishing yourself and treating yourself and traveling is a form of self-care. So, yeah, definitely.
I have to say I'm a marathon runner, and obviously pasta is always important when you're training and fueling, but also is a celebration. Once you're done with the event, you want to eat good food, you want to enjoy the food. Obviously Italian food is fantastic.
Yes, both of my parents were marathon runners in New York City. I remember the lifestyle, the training, and then the pre-run, the pre-marathon meal, the pasta party, that they had a huge pasta party in Manhattan, and then the food afterwards.
Yeah. Well, we just have to say the pasta party was not the best pasta.
No, it's mass marketed. Yeah, they like have to feed so many people. It's never good.
But at
it's
that
just
time,
about the carbs at that time.
You're more nervous. It doesn't really matter what you fuel your body.
It's not the dining experience. You're just trying to get as many carbs in as possible.
When you talk about effortless and also healthy, how does that go in one sentence?
Effortless is a word I came up with because I was doing a personal chef work for my clients. And then when I transitioned to the virtual cooking classes, it was still effortless because I was providing the recipe. They were cooking along with me, and not a lot of thought was going into it. So effortless for my travel side of my business means that you can sign up for a trip and come and explore and do all of this custom created group tour without having to do any planning yourself. So that kind of travel, there's a lot of work that goes into that to be able to step into that and not have to do the planning. Completely effortless. I still do private one-to-one coaching and cooking lessons for people. It is still effortless because there are people who come to me who want new dishes for their repertoire, or they want to really learn to hone their skills and knife skills and learning a little bit of healthier food. I'm providing the information, and they're just absorbing and following along and then bringing it into their daily routine.
But is it people who want to lose weight or not so much? It's more to have an effortless meal that you can enjoy and enjoy more than...
Definitely not about weight loss. It's certainly about eating balanced and eating healthier. But I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't have any nutritional information in any of my recipes. But I like to eat having whole foods, and I don't use a lot of processed ingredients in my recipes. So that's what I'm trying to teach people in that way. It's effortless once they figure out kind of the ingredients to have in their pantry and what to pull from. My focus is on easy weeknight recipes. It's going to be more effortless for them once they figure out a few of them to be able to get dinner on the table in 30 minutes or less sometimes.
And I have to go back to my marathon days again. When I came home from running, I was hungry. I needed to eat within 20 minutes. I can cook very fast, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's fairly good, or at least I can eat it. So my go-to recipe was always pasta and tomato and some basil, and that's it. And some salt over it. That's it. Something very easy but healthy.
And that's easy. But if I were to tell somebody, okay, you need dinner in 20 minutes, I might do something more like grab some ground turkey, cook it up, add some garlic, and maybe let's make it Asian. So let's add some soy sauce and a little bit of sesame oil and some sambal and saute a bunch of vegetables, mix it all together, serve it over rice. Something like that can take me 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, but I got to chop vegetables. Like buy the pre-shredded or pre-cut things if you need to make your life easier. The one thing I do recommend people, like for shortcuts, people like to use the jar of garlic I really prefer fresh, but if you don't want to use fresh and you want to make it easy, they do sell those cubes in the freezer section of garlic and ginger. And that is a hot tip that if you don't want to have the fresh garlic because you think it's a pain and it goes bad, for whatever reason, the little cubes are very good to use.
We're learning
Much
something
fresher
here.
than the jar. Yeah.
I don't do anything
Yeah.
out of the jar. That comes from my upbringing in Switzerland, where you eat
Absolutely.
fresh. And
Absolutely.
it's a joy to eat fresh. And I also have to say, in New York City, depending where you live, you have such nice variety of food
Mm-hmm.
that it's a shame, it's a crime to eat those TV dinners. I've never had a TV dinner. I never have my freezer full with anything because there's always so many good things available.
I know.
So
that's where you live. But if other people are living in areas where really all they have is the big supermarkets or the big box stores, and then they were not raised with whole foods and fresh ingredients, their go-to is going to be frozen and TV dinners. So that's what I'm trying to educate people on. That's why I love being on podcasts and speaking to a larger audience, because I can yell all I want to from my house, but only a certain network will hear me. So I appreciate you having me on to just like share messages like this, because it's not necessarily people's choice. It's all they know sometimes.
I know I'm privileged, and growing up in a smaller town, having the opportunity to go to the market and enjoy the Italian lifestyle in a way is nobody can take that away. And also the traveling. I used to work for the airline. So now when you say you're offering travels, you go to those places and you check out everything, or how do you organize, let's say, the trip to Rome or whatever you're offering?
So this year I've got Tuscany and Croatia. I do not plan it myself. I hire a local expert who's there, who knows what's on the best places to go or the off the beaten path. I don't want to go and I don't buy a packaged trip and sell it to my clients. That's not what I'm about. I want it to be, because I'm going on all of these trips and I want to experience as much as I want my clients to experience the best of the best related to a food experience. So no, I hire somebody local to help me plan it. So they are really in the know and everything's planned for you. My trips are a combination of touring, but also there's some downtime to do some exploring on your own or rest if people want to do that. And I don't do the airfare. Everybody books their own flights because that's not my zone of expertise. I don't want to get into that.
I used to do that. I know. It's a lot of work. Yeah. Wow. But it sounds exciting. And what is the specialty in Croatia?
Croatia actually has a lot of similarities in their food to Italy. There's a lot of Italian influence. It's our first time going to Croatia. We're going to focus in just Split and then do day experiences from there. They're known for they do pasta and risotto, but also a lot of grilled meats and different meats that we don't necessarily 100% eat here all the time. And then seafood, of course, because they're right on the coast.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
And I'm excited.
Yeah. And your audience, where do they come from?
So I happen to attract a lot of solo female travelers. Average age of my travelers are in like 50s, I would say, or 50s and 60s. But I don't cater just to women. They're not just women's trips. Men can come too. My husband comes. My parents travel with us when they're not traveling on their own, and they're 80, but they are the high end. Like I don't usually have a lot of, but they're very active 80. Most people come from word of mouth, people within my network or their networks. People who have traveled with me do come back. I have a lot of repeat travelers. I would say my trips do skew more women than men, and the solo female because it's just easy and safe for them to go with a group. They know they're going to be taken care of once they get themselves to the hotel for the first day, and then everything is done for them. That's pretty much, but really word of mouth. Not a lot of people are finding me randomly. And I do make sure that people are a good fit. I don't want someone to come on the trip if they don't love exploring for food or they don't love being with a group.
You meet the people before they come?
I do have a conversation with everybody. I do have to say there are people who say a few things about my trips that are interesting and not necessarily true about the trip is, I don't like group travel because we're going to be on a big bus, or I don't like being with people all the time, or I don't like cliquey groups. And I'm like, but none of that is true. We do have, like, we are with a group. People come solo and they end up finding their person, and not everybody's going to love each other, but we all get along. We're all there for the same reason. We're there to travel. We're there to experience the food and do all those things together. That's one thing. The other thing is, I don't like cooking, because they hear that we do cooking classes. And what my clients have said, because their friends have said the same thing, like, I wouldn't want to go on that trip. I don't like to cook. Our cooking classes are not about learning the technique of cooking. Our cooking classes are to learn about the local food. Sometimes we are actually cooking, and we don't do a lot of cooking. It's not like we're slaving away for hours. We get to eat whatever we make, which is really fun, but we're really learning about the local custom and the local foods, and less about how to chop vegetables or whatever. Like, there's not a lot of that going on. It's really more about the experience and less about the education of the techniques.
And what's next for you? So you said a new cookbook, trip to Japan in 2026.
TV show, anybody out there? TV show? No,
I see you.
Possibly.
I see you on TV. Yeah.
I never say no. I would say I like to get into more one-on-one coaching and cooking with people. I can do that virtually, and I can do that in person. So I've done a mix of both. It's nice to have that one-on-one time with me to really get those questions answered. And we go through knife skills and how to read a recipe. There's some people who don't really know how to cook and they don't know how to read a recipe. So we can go very basic, or we can go more like, you're interested in more meals that you can make for picky teenagers, or more meals that you can make for dinner parties, or that kind of thing. So we can branch out from the usual of what I'm known for. Yeah, cookbook in 2026 will be Japan, hopefully another Italy trip, maybe Portugal.
It's only the start of 2025, but you already make plans for 26. I love that.
I'm working on it.
And we also want to say thanks to Donna Kravota, who brought us together. She has the show The Real 50 Over 50, and she has a network of 135 women. And she says, you can pick whoever you want. And when I saw your Effortless Kitchen, I was like, we need to know what you do when you don't work.
Well, when I'm not working, I'm actually traveling personally. I love travel that much. Spending time with family. I've got 3 kids. I'm an empty nester, but I have 3 kids. So we travel to spend time with the kids and my family as well. And I like to exercise and take walks and spend time with my husband.
Thank you so much for giving us a glimpse, and hopefully one of the listeners will show up for a trip. I would certainly love to go to Japan. We'll see what 2026 will bring us. But first, we're here in the here and now for 2025. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you.
Are you getting hungry? Are you ready to travel? I am. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday with interesting people who have cool stories that we can learn. If you have questions, ask us. And also Take It from the Ironwoman is the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore. And also like us, subscribe to our podcast,